Hey guys, we're back. We have another top 5 video for today. If you remember a while back, we did one on the top 5 vampire movies. And this time we're going to talk about vampire TV series. So let's do this. All right, who's going to go first?
You're going to go first.
Okay. So my number 5 is a series called Hemlock Grove. You didn't watch that.
No.
You probably would like it.
I might like it.
Maybe
we can watch it.
It is, it's a few years old. It's been a little while since it came out. There was a couple of seasons, 2 or 3 seasons. And it's sort of a drama base. A young guy moves to a new town and, weird stuff going on. It's got vampire, werewolf, stuff and,
oh boy,
whatever, hot sexy time, a weird mom who's kind of crazy and pretty controlling and all of that. But it was the first series or first acting that I ever saw by Bill Skarsgård. Bill Skarsgård's in it. So if you haven't seen that, you might want to check it out. I thought it was pretty good. I
might have to watch it with you. We'll see.
It's got some pretty cool gory, transformation-y stuff, and it's got some of that creepy vibe in it. All right, what's your number 5?
My number 5 was Buffy. So I remember when Buffy was announced as a TV show, and it was what's his face? Joss Whedon. His
Whedon.
First. I think it was really his first. I think he may have had a TV show before that, but that was really kind of his first big thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's a great snapshot of, I would almost call it independent TV in the 90s, because it wasn't on NBC, ABC, or Fox, or CBS. It was very much what became, unfortunately, kind of the blueprint for what was UPN, which became the CW, where it was an off network, and it was almost in a way a bad reaction to how the X-Files was, because the X-Files was very much had this kind of indie feel at the time, that you wouldn't see that kind of stuff on the major networks.
Mm-hmm. Buffy was a huge hit at the time.
Oh yeah, I mean it was big.
Everybody watched Buffy.
Yeah.
Oh, that's my number 4. Was Buffy.
Yeah.
I actually didn't watch Buffy at the time that it came out. I watched Buffy years later. I knew I'd seen the movie Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and I had, was familiar with the show, but I had never gotten the opportunity to sit down and watch them. I binged it in the 2000s. I was laid up with a bad foot, remember?
Mm-hmm.
And sat there
She
to have
watched
my
the whole
foot propped
thing in
up. I
3
watched
days.
that, and then I started watching Angel simultaneously.
Angel was not great.
Well, Angel, the darker version.
Well, the real problem is Angel was supposed to be her love interest, and then this dude showed up called Spike, and everyone went nuts for him.
And he was only supposed to be in the first few.
He was
he
was
the
a bad
antagonist
guy
for the first season,
yeah,
and then
they were going to kill him off,
anything.
and they didn't. It was one of those things like Castiel and
and Lafayette.
And there's a bunch of characters like that, and it's unfortunate that that. Well, and then so they kicked Angel into his own show, and it just never really made. It was kind of like the Highlander spin-off TV show, The Raven, where, it just didn't work.
Yeah. Well, I liked all the other characters in Angel.
But yeah.
Wesley, Cordelia. I felt like they had more substance than Angel. Always annoyed me.
Well, like I said, wasn't he Bones? Wasn't that the name
of
his?
The actor, yeah, I can't. Yeah,
and it was still kind of the same character, where he was still this just kind of an asshole.
Broody.
Yeah, and it just,
I don't know. I'm Team Spike.
All right, so am I doing my number 4?
Yeah.
My number 4 is because it's currently being shot for the 2nd season, is Interview with the Dead Guy. The vampire. Since the guys who did Breaking Bad are doing it, I've got high hopes for what they're doing with it. I think I figured out the twist they're going to go for. I know there's a lot of people who are kind of mad about the show, and they can just die mad, because you're never going to get the book the way you want it. The book doesn't really work as a TV show. But I think they're going to take the actual spirit of what the book actually is and really reveal that in this next season. And I don't really want to give it away, but I think it's going to be fantastic. And I think it's going to make a lot of you out there really upset, and I'm going to enjoy every minute of it.
Contrarian over here.
I'm not being a contrarian. I just think I know how they want to tell the story.
All right. My number 3 is True Blood. And it is... Oh, it was awesome. Do you remember when we first started watching it, we didn't know what it was?
Well,
It was like on HBO or something, and then
Well, I had to start
we
watching
got
it.
hooked on Jason Stackhouse and Arlene and just this whole like
Arlene's pretty hot.
the southern.
Although Pam was my girl.
It was so messed up, like the way they talk to each other and this this very
I think I'd
redneck
seen,
kind of thing that was going
Because
on.
it come out, my number 3 is True Blood as well, except only seasons 1 through 4. And it's just, that's the problem. It's like I've said before, you know, it's like in the movie Spaceballs, when we're shooting the sequel, Spaceballs 2, The Search for More Money. And there just comes a point where that, like, she read the books, and I think it just kind of really just gets off track from that.
It's very different than the books. There's a lot of characters that we don't even see in the series, but it's still, they're just different stories.
What's your number 2?
Vampire Diaries.
Yeah, I didn't do that one.
I keep trying to get him to watch
Not
it.
gonna
He's
happen.
just not. I think he would really like it if he watched it, but he's
I
not
don't have
into
that kind of time.
drama.
No, I mean, like, if we're going to do that, we have to watch that stupid Blade TV show.
I might throw myself on that grenade if I could, if I thought you would actually watch Vampire Diaries with me.
Well, you're right. That's not going to happen.
But I like the drama. There was a lot of seasons. There was a lot going on. The whole overarch story with the 2 brothers, and you know how all that plays out, and Elena, and then you know it's a lot. And then of course you have the other spinoffs that are part of the story, the originals, and then Legacies. And I watched all of those too. So yeah. I don't know, you liked the originals for a little while.
I didn't really. I got suckered by the premise. I mean, it was vampires in New Orleans in the jazz era, and or at least that was part of it. And I'm like, okay, take my money. 3 of my favorite things. And it just, by the end of the first season, it was just...
You just hate all that love stuff.
It was like people breaking up and getting back together in the same episode, or like it was...
We know people that happens to. Like,
yeah,
in
well,
real life.
I would rather watch them do it, you know, in real life. You know, it's a lot more entertaining.
Well, Team Damon.
Okay.
Stefan's a putz.
So my number 2 is Kindred the Embraced. So Kindred the Embraced was a show where White Wolf, who made Vampire the Masquerade, had licensed the rights to Hollywood to make a vampire TV show. Because it was, at that point, I believe, Vampire the Masquerade and the World of Darkness was actually surging way past Dungeons and Dragons as the most popular tabletop game in the country. And, you know, you could go to Hot Topic and buy Vampire the Masquerade shirts and pens and stuff and the books, and they had a bunch of novels. And it was basically, the problem is they sold the show to Aaron Spelling, who 2 of the most famous shows he did were Beverly Hills 90210 and Melrose Place. And they basically... What probably happened one night is they took it to him and presented it to him with a whole bunch of money and a huge fucking coffee table full of cocaine and just partied him out until he made it. And it wasn't great. It's really bad, but it's really good in that way. But it's kind of like Buffy. It's a snapshot of like what happened in the 90s when you had just way too much money and way too many drugs going, and people try to do things that didn't really make any sense. But
Yeah. It could have been great.
The guy who played Julian, the Prince of San Francisco, did a great job. And then it got canceled. I don't know if it got canceled before or after, but he was touring Italy on his motorcycle and he got in a wreck and got decapitated. And that kind of was the final nail in the coffin.
What was that line?
We
Everybody
were down,
makes money.
We were down for
No, you got to
Stevie.
say it. You got to say it like they
We
did
were
in the
down
movie.
for
We
Stevie.
were down for Stevie.
Yeah, there's this gangrel who's a kind of country vampire whose name was Stevie Ray, like Stevie Ray Vaughan. I mean, that's the kind of brilliance they had when they made this show.
It's just the acting in it at that point it's just
It's bad.
it's cringe.
I mean,
very much
You
cringe.
don't watch it sober.
But again, it was a great idea. I feel like it.
So, what's your number
There's
one?
a lot of content that they could have done something really great with. My number one is Interview with the Vampire.
Which
the
I've already
series.
talked about.
Yes, but it's my number one because it is my favorite vampire story of all time. I love the book. I love the movie with Brad Pitt and Tom Cruise. I don't much like Tom Cruise, but I actually liked him in that movie. Although he didn't really nail Lestat for me in the same way that I feel like the guy in this series. I feel like he is absolutely spot on perfect for Lestat, and I think they did a really good job with casting it. And even though they've updated it to a different time period than the original story, I feel like they really kept the essence of the book and what it's about. The relationship between Louis and Lestat, which they didn't really go into in the movie. It was a different time that movie was made, and now, we really get a lot more of that. And then my favorite scene from a vampire movie is actually in either the penultimate episode of season 1 or the last episode where they're at the ball. If you haven't seen it yet, you need to watch it. It's really great.
Yeah, it's on Max now, actually. It was on AMC, but I think HBO Max bought the rights for at least the first season to show it. And, so if you haven't seen it, watch it.
I guess season 2 is supposed to be coming out sometime in the spring.
March.
It's been delayed. March. It's forever away. Writer strike stuff. So, any honorable mentions?
Well, I haven't got
That's right. You haven't got your number one yet.
This is a common thing. It's like she's just getting ahead of me.
I'm just excited.
Mine is the 2014 version of Dracula. It aired on NBC in America. I think it was paid for and shot by the BBC. If not, it was another one of the British stations. And it's a slight retelling in the late 1800s, very Victorian, of Dracula coming to England, to London. And they take some liberties with some things that I really liked how they did it. There's some really hot stuff that goes on in it. All the actors do a fantastic job of playing their characters. And it was just really cool. And they did one season and then it got canned. And that's one of the big problems with the vampire series is there's not a lot of them, and some of the ones that were really good some of the ones that could have been really good go too long, and then there's been some that are just don't go long enough.
Yeah. No, that was a really good series. We've watched it like twice all the way through, and then we just get sad at the end because there isn't anything beyond that. It would have been really great. Honorable mention that I have on mine is Dark Shadows, the original, way back.
You know why it's like that, right?
Why?
He wasn't a vampire in the first season.
Well, I haven't actually been able to watch all of those. So.
The first season was very boring, and then all of a sudden, as like a last-minute hat trick, they decided to make Barnabas Jones a vampire.
I didn't know that.
And all of a sudden, because they did that, they were able to get enough of a break from the network that they could keep going, and then it just picked up, and the noontime soap opera crowd loved it.
Yeah.
And loved what.
Well,
they
that's
did
what I
with it.
remember. My mom would watch it, and that was my first exposure to anything vampire. And I didn't really watch it like with her. I remember it being on, seeing an episode or two, but it was very dark and romantic, and it had this vibe to it, and that was my first exposure to that type of world, and I just very much remember that. It had a very big impression on me. So the other one I had is honorable, which was Kindred, the Embraced, because, well, if you haven't experienced that, you need to do yourself a favor and check that box.
I guess my honorable mention was Forever Night. This vampire throughout the ages becomes a detective in Seattle and has an oversized trunk on his car so he can sleep in it, and it's basically weekly detective show, except the MacGuffin is he's a vampire and uses his vampire powers to solve these crimes, and then you find out there's this bad vampire puppeteer kind of character who's controlling everything behind the scenes and becomes his mortal enemy. And it's really bad. It's really dumb. But it was also one of those 90s things that was on like CW or like Fox 2 or ESPN, the Ocho.
We tried to watch The Strain.
That sucked.
It was not.
It was not great.
No. I think I watched a couple episodes of Van Helsing and got bored. We didn't finish that. I think there's a couple more series out there that we've been told we should check out. Preacher kind of makes the list because one of the characters is a vampire, but it's not really based around that.
He's not even really,
But I really like his character, though.
Oh, I know you do, but it's not. But that's why I don't have Penny Dreadful on there, because there's like, Eva Green's a vampire or whatever.
But the first season starts out based on the whole idea of them looking for Lucy and that kind of thing. So it starts out and then it veers. But it's a great show. You should check it out. It's, the variety of monsters or whatnot. So, some more vampire stuff that we are going to be doing here later before the end of the year. We're going to do a review of the vampire movies that have come out during 2023. There's a handful of those, and we're going to talk about them. And for future content, because we do a lot of different things. We do spooky content, we do music content. We kind of, have a range of things that we're all about. So as far as music content, what do we got going on?
Well, I'm starting a podcast. I need to get the software figured out, and then hopefully I'll be able to post up the first episode next week.
Very nice.
And it's going to be about music. If you have music questions, though, we're also going to be doing we're going to start doing a Viewers Comment Fridays kind of thing. So if you've got questions about music or anything, just leave them in the comments and let us know.
Yep. I will also be starting a couple of different things. So I would like to get a podcast started where I'm talking about a variety of monsters, scary, spooky legends. I already started doing a little bit of that. It's been a while. Talking about the history of the vampire archetype. We'll get into some more of that, but I also want to delve into, other creatures, monsters, legends from a variety of cultures all over the world. So if you've got anything you want to hear about, drop that down for us in the comments, and I'll be glad to, get my research out and do a little talk on that. And the other thing that I'll be doing here this spooky season. Do you want to tell them?
So she's going to be reading spooky children's stories.
Story time with Solara.
So if you have a spooky children's storybook that you love that maybe we haven't thought about in a while, please leave it in the comments, let us know, and she might read a part of it, and if it goes over well, she might read the whole thing.
We're going to be starting with one of his all-time favorite books, Bunnicula, A Rabbit Tale of Mystery.
It's going to be a lot of fun.
Yep.
Anywho, we should probably sign off.
Yep.
Sun's coming up. If you like what you're seeing and you like these lists and things we've been doing, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Tell your friends. We're trying to get this channel going so we can do some more fun stuff with it.
Don't forget to ring the notification bell. That tells you when the videos are coming out.
Ding.
Well, we will catch you later. And as always, stay spooky, my friends.